So the purpose of this class is specifically to look at registering your reports so they can be used in Qualoupe and creating a standalone launcher for your report. So I've stuck some suitable shortcuts on my favourites. So I've got the reports manager on here and the application manager, which we'll be using. Sorry, what was that, Leslie?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. In the standard installation, there's a tab for the reports role, which has an assortment of different reports on it, and the occasional one that I've created when I was testing earlier. So sometimes you might want to run a report from an application. So if you're printing a certificate of analysis, for example, you might want to open up a particular sample record and then print the report for that. But other things are more general. It might just be a report of all the samples in the system which are at a particular status. So there's some example ones here. We've got all the work that's assigned and who it's assigned to, and then there's some summaries of samples that are in process. We've got this management overview, so if I click on that one, it launches. Might take a second or two. There we go. So this one's just a dashboard view. Sorry, I can't zoom it very readily. A little dashboard view of things that are going on, so what the turnaround is for samples and who our customers are. So Blogs and Co are doing well here. And what you've got at different statuses. So it's just like a little overview with some charts on it, this one. I'm going to have to use the history to get back because my navigation toolbar is closed. Okay, so how do we create those standalone reports on this tab? Because you can customize this, because the example ones you're given might not be things that you particularly want to see, but there might be other things you want to see, and you might want to log in and see a report there on your favorites tab. So like all these other things, you can actually stick them on your favorites, so when you log in, there's your report to run straight away. So the first thing we need to do is get the report into the system. So if I click on the reports manager, and if I load the records, you'll see there's a few things already in here. So let's have a look at management overview, seeing as that's the one I was looking at. So in here, it tells us the file name's actually QL dashboard, and it's assigned to run from the sample manager. So I'm going to create a new record and show you how we would set one of these up. So new record. I'm just going to browse off and find a crystal report. Here's one I prepared earlier. It's a report that shows me sample statuses of N, P, B and C. I actually think that's misnamed. I think it only shows me N, P and B, so I'll go samples at status N, P or B. And you can put some description in here. If I can't be bothered to think of something interesting to type in there, I'll just put the title in again. So what happens is you select a file to upload, a Crystal Reports file, and it can be on your local computer or it can be on the network, just a file that you can get at. When you upload it, it's copied to the server that's running Qualoupe. So your local copy, you still keep your local copy, but then it becomes available to everyone else as well. So if I click on upload, and it has done it now. We'll just close that navigation window. So we've told it, here's our file name, and this is what it's called, this is the description. Now if we want to run it from within Qualoupe, we can decide which applications we might want to run this from. So seeing as it's telling me about samples, I guess Sample Manager is probably a good place to run it from. Sample Manager. And We could probably run it from Batch Manager as well, I guess. Batch Manager. So save my changes. So what's it called? Samples at status NP or B. So if I come out of here and go into the Sample Manager, sorry it's running a little bit slow today. Now if I click on the print button, you can see that that report is now available. Oops, I've just clicked on it. I was just trying to highlight it. I'll cancel that. If I'd selected some records, so let's do that, load records, I don't know, let's have all of them. And then I go on to print and highlight my sample, sorry, my report. I get the option of which records I want to print. So we have the currently loaded record, selected records, which gives me a chance, if I hold down the control key, to say these are the ones I want to print, none. Or no records, which sounds a bit peculiar because you don't want to print no records. Actually what it's doing is it's not passing any records to the report. In other words, the report will just print whatever the report is set up to print. So if I leave it on that and click on preview, it'll take a little while to preview because the last report I looked at was the management overview, and what Qualoupe does is it caches the last report. So if I was to run management overview again, it'll run quickly, but if you swap to another report, it takes a little while to dump the currently loaded report from the cache and load the next report in the cache. So I imagine this is going to take a moment or two to find that report, but we should get there in the while. Okay, while it's doing that, I'll go back into here. So if I was in the, I'll be able to tell when it's finished doing it because the thing will stop rotating. Okay, so I'll click on that tab. There's my report, new samples, pending samples, and so my window is a bit small and not very convenient. I've got it minimized and begun. So close. What I was going to say was if I run the sample manager again, oops, it's definitely having a slow day today. But if I run the sample manager again and don't select any records and just click on the print button, it just doesn't give you an option of print current record or selected records. It will just take you to no records. I wonder why this is going so slow. Speed up. I might get impatient and start clicking things in a moment. History, sample manager. I was thinking about it. There we go. Right, so if I don't select any records, I click on print. It shows me the reports that are available, and you don't get all that choosing which records you want to pass to the report. You just say no records, as in I don't want to pass any records to the report. If I preview this again, it should load a lot faster the second time because it should already be in the cache. Okay, so while it's doing that, I'm going to come out of there. Now, if we want to, it's definitely going slowly, if we want to create our little standalone applications like this, we do that in the Application Manager. So I'm going to click on Application Manager and run that. And if we go down to Management Overview, there it is, you can see in here we have an application URL. So we've got the name, which is what appears underneath the icon, what it's actually running, and then the icon URL. Oh, that's run now. Okay, so here's my report. So if I want this report to launch directly and not have to go through the sample manager, I need the URL for this report. So actually I need to view the navigation toolbar. So you see if I click on Applications Manager, it tells me I'm in the application and I'm looking at this record. That's the ID for that record. If I click on here, there's a whole load of stuff in there. So if I'm going to go Control-C to copy it, so if I create a new record and I'll call it samples at, don't know what it'll do with an at symbol, so I'll put samples status NPB. If I get the URL, which I copied from here, and paste it into there, and choose a pretty icon for it. The icons you can choose are the things that are available on the server. So it is possible you could design your own icons and put them up there. I've just got a few assorted ones. Let's use the management overview icon. It shows you what it looks like. So if I clear that and choose a different one and say, "Ooh, I'll have batch manager icon," you get that one. But I'll go back to management overview icon, I think. Save changes. So I've created what appears like and behaves like a Qualoupe application. So what I have to do now is go to the roles manager, because at the moment, although I've created it, I haven't put it on any of these tabs. No one can see it yet. So if I go to the roles manager, I apologise in advance about the manager because the developers are doing something to it. Unfortunately, I'm demonstrating against our development system because it's got data in it. So as soon as I click on this, I expect I'm going to get a little error. Yes, I did. However, you hopefully shouldn't get that. So if I go to Applications, this is the reports role. If I click on Applications, what did I call that? Sample status something or other. Sample status NPB. So it appears as an available application. So if I highlight it and say Assign, I'm going to get that error message again when I save it. But I think it's still going to be working. So if I go out of here and into the Reports tab, you can see it's now appeared in there. So I could stick that on my Favourites. If I go to my Favourites tab, there it is. So now if I click on that, I'll close it because it's already open. If I click on that, it should run again. And hopefully it should run faster the second time. One thing you'll notice here, while it's thinking about running, is if you launch a report as an application, it opens in the same window that that your Qualoupe is running in. When you launch it from Sample Manager or something like that, it opens in a new tab. And so I've got to wait for it to do something now. If I get a bit impatient, I can go back to here. And I can get it to launch in a new tab just by, which I will do because I don't know how long it's going to take to run. If I right mouse click on it, I can open it in a new tab. So I can let it run while I'm doing something else. So while that's running, to recap, you go to the Reports Manager and you upload your report, new record, choose your file, upload it, put in a title and a description. So let's load that report. There it is. So that gets your report onto the system. Assign it to run from an application so you can actually run it. So I see it's running now, I think. Oh no, it's still thinking about it. You assign it to run from an application so you can get a hold of the URL and copy it. So in the Sample Manager, God, this is painful today, this is very slow. So you've uploaded your report, you assign it to an application, you highlight it and run it from that application. I'm not going to do that because we've currently got it running. When it's run, you copy that URL, you go into the Applications Manager eventually and create a new record in there. So I'll go and find our record, which is there. Paste the URL that you've copied from your preview into there. Choose a pretty icon, give it a suitable title and save that, and it will then exist as an application. And finally you go into Roles Manager and you assign it to a role. So in other words, you say which tab you want it to appear on. So I said I wanted it to appear on the Reports tab and then just put it as a shortcut on my Favourites tab. So that's taken us a little bit over 15 minutes, and it was a bit of a brief sprint through the functionality. Would have been a bit briefer if it hadn't been running so slow, and I'll be available for any questions you've got after this. I'm just going to click on the stop recording button, and obviously this will all go up on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and review this class again in future if you want to. Thanks very much.